Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to another edition of Let's Make a Model. This one is Dark Angels 2.0. Now I know I've done Dark Angels before for Let's Make a Model, hence why it's 2.0. The reason why I'm going for the 2.0 is because in the previous Let's Make a Model for the Dark Angels, I did it with the old Citadel paints because I use Citadel paints primarily to paint with. That's just the paints I prefer. Some people prefer Vallejo, whatever. But the point is, I used the old Citadel paints for that one. And when I finished that video series, the new paints were right around the corner. And I said I would, and here I'm doing it now. I'll do an updated, well not updated, but a 2.0 version utilizing the new Citadel paints. Because a lot of people, if they're getting into the hobby, well, just over time, that's going to become the paints that you're going to be readily available from Citadel. And having outdated paints won't really help us as a community learn things if you can't get those paints. You can always get the equivalent from other companies or get the new Citadel paints. However, I wouldn't just do Let's Make a Model of Dark Angels 2.0 if that was it. That'd be kind of lame. So I'm giving you a combo deal here, kind of like a little combo meal. And comboed with that, we're getting resin, working with resin, I should say, and assembly line painting ideas. So let's talk about that a little bit. What we have here is Forge World Mark III Iron Armor, Forge World Ferox Pattern Bolters. You get 5 armor pieces, so you can make 5 armored marines without weapons with the iron armor. The Ferox bolters come in with 10, so I'm using 5 of them. And then I got these resin cast bases for Urban Rebel. Now I forget the company that makes these bases, and I'm sorry about that. I've had those bases for over a year and a half, so I've kind of forgotten. I'm going to do some backtracking, and if I can figure out the company that makes them when I do the part 2 video of this Let's Make a Model Dark Angels 2.0 Super Combo Edition. This is part 1, obviously. If I can figure out the guys who made these bases in a future part, I will definitely make mention of that. So why does it matter that it's resin? Well, resin is different to work with than pewter and plastic, obviously. So I'm going to go over that because there are some things to keep in mind with resin that you may not necessarily think about for other mediums, and some other things that you have to do with resin that are just good practice to do with the other mediums as well. And on top of that, once we do get to painting, I'm going to be talking about assembly line painting or batch painting. Basically, it means the same thing. The idea of this is you're painting multiple models at the same time of the same color scheme, as opposed to doing it one at a time. Now, this is beneficial for a lot of reasons. You can finish an army quicker, you can get more progress done in the same amount of time that you would have got some progress on one model done. And it's helpful in a good example if you're on a time crunch for getting an army ready for a tournament. Or in my case, I'm trying to redo my Dark Angels as best I can, as efficiently as I can. This helps with that as well. The thing with assembly line or batch style painting is you need to have some type of tactic. You have to have a strategy for what you're doing here, or else you're not going to flounder. But it's better just to have a game plan going in right from the get-go than establishing it on the fly. And the thing with assembly line painting is that's something we naturally, I think, lean towards as you start painting more and more models. So it's something that you're probably going to do without even realizing you're doing it over time. And if you're new to painting, it's definitely a tactic that's very, very helpful. But we're not going to talk about that yet because in part 1, what I'm going to do for part 2 is get this resin all cleaned up and ready to work with. So what does that entail? Well, it entails 2 things. Physically cleaning it up as far as getting excess resin and whatnot off of it. If you look at this piece right here, this torso, you can see this excess resin here as opposed to here, and you have this tab here that's going to be filed down and cut down carefully. That's the first step in cleaning it. I like to do that first, and then after I get that done, what I do is I give the models, the model pieces a bath in warm water and a mild detergent like a dish soap, or I like to use Simple Green because I have it. It strips paint, then it can clean up your models. Now the reason I like to cut and file down first is because when I'm giving them their bath and lightly cleaning them with an old toothbrush, if I'm doing any filing and any of that dust, I don't wipe it off and it gets stuck in a recess somewhere, I may have a better chance of getting it off the model when I do the bath. So I like to do that bath first, and then, do the bath second, and do the actual physical cutting and filing carefully down first. And that's what I'm going to do for all these pieces. Then to get things ready, I keep the bases and the models separate. I don't like attaching my models to their final base until both are done. So with that, I like to use temporary painting bases. Now, I've kit bashed in the past, so I have a lot of excess bases I'm not going to use, like square bases, for example. I like to use those. You don't have to use bases. You can use like a wooden stick, like a painter, like a mixing stick you can use if you want to. Or you can hold them. It's just that when you don't have to hold the model, you can paint more of it in one go. And that, aside, instead of having to let it sit and dry before grabbing the painted part. Plus, you won't get your skin oils on the paint. You won't get any fingerprints potentially in the paint and stuff like that. So what I like to do is partially assemble. I don't like to fully assemble my models either. I like to get to all the little nooks and crannies. So I assemble legs and torsos and heads all together, properly of course. Then I assemble. Well, I don't. I put those together. The backpack stays separate. The shoulder pad gets glued onto the arms, and they stay separate from the body, and the weapon stays separate. And that's pretty much that as far as getting them ready. That's what I'm going to do. So it looks like a bit of a mess here, bags of stuff and everything everywhere. But in the next video, what you'll see is pretty much stuff ready for paint. You're going to see 5 Marines on painting bases, or at least the legs, torsos, and heads. You're going to see arms on the cutting mat. You're going to see backpacks and weapons on the cutting mat ready to go as well. All of that stuff is going to be ready to go. Now that prep time is important for resin a lot, because a lot of resin will have, even if you don't really feel a very slick texture, a lot of resin is going to have some residue of the release agent on it. It's just the nature of the game, basically. So you're going to have to clean it. And it's a good process and a good practice to get into, not just for resin, but also for plastic computer even. It can be helpful. So that's really that, and that's what I'm going to do. So part 2, you're going to see these guys ready for paint, and then I'll start talking about assembly line painting ideas and whatnot. So that's that. This is Dark Angels 2.0 Super Combo Edition, Part 1. And all that entails is prep time. So no painting to happen yet. Just prepping and getting it ready. So hope you enjoy. And the whole point of doing this is just to show some ideas, because I don't really talk about assembly line painting like in detail. And I always kind of skim over the prep work. So I'll give you my insight into prepping it in Part 2, like how it went. Anyways, that's it. So until next time, take it easy.